Sick of getting blisters? Stop slipping and just be comfortable with Pure Grip Socks Pro. Great fit, great comfort, lots of grip, and an even better price. Available now at puregripsocks.com.
If there were ever a pair of football boots that felt like the future, not that future, like the actual future, it's these. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to the brand new Adidas Predator Accuracy Plus, the top of the line laceless variation retailing for $280, a $5 increase over the Edge Plus that it replaces. It's a football boot that of course gives you the Adidas signature laceless construction, the new Predator elements, 5 out of 5 rectangles of high definition grip, the same sole plate and stud pattern that carries over from the previous generation Edge, and realistically a pair of football boots that I can't say feel like anything else that I've ever tried. And I mean that mostly in a good way. Without making you have to wait, compared to the Edge Plus it replaces, the Accuracy Plus is a gigantic improvement in so many different ways. However, it's still not perfect and does have some aspects about it that just might not be for you. So I'm going to talk about the good and the bad as it relates to the Accuracy Plus. We'll talk a little bit about how it compares to the 0.1 laced variation that I also recently reviewed. And of course, we'll take a look at how they fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more, please stick around. And if you are interested in a pair for yourself, you can pick them up below their normal retail price by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the first link down below. And as always, guys, if you enjoy these brutally honest reviews, drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already so you don't miss out on my reviews of all the latest football boots of 2023. Now, I don't think that I'd be alone in saying that I was not a huge fan of the Edge Plus. Out of all the laceless Predator models we've had, that was easily the worst one, mainly based on the stiffness of the upper, the shape of the football boot, and the general lack of comfort, especially considering the $275 retail price. The grip provided by the rubber elements across the entire upper was undeniably fantastic, but unfortunately, the boots just felt so bad on your feet, it really wasn't worth it for that extra grip. However, for 2023, the Accuracy Plus basically improves all of the main issues that I had with the Edge Plus, in that the prime knit upper that was incredibly stiff and rigid has now been replaced by hybrid touch synthetic, a material that we last saw in the Predator series on the Predator Instinct, but also a material that's been famously used on a bunch of very popular Adidas models, most notably the 2014 Adidas F50 Adizero. With that said, this isn't exactly the hybrid touch that we used to get from Adidas. I would say that this is more structured, not quite as thin, definitely has more of a padding to the liner on the inside of this particular model, but still kind of sets itself apart from everything else on the market right now in that we don't really see too many leather-like synthetics anymore. And I think this actually does a really nice job. It's a good balance between having that solid feel that I think you would want from a Predator. You don't need them to be overly thin like they have been for the last several generations, but at the same time, it's still very pliable and honestly, just very comfortable. For me, this is easily the most comfortable laceless Predator model to date. So as a base, I really like what they've done with hybrid touch, but it's what's happening on the surface that I think really makes this such a unique football boot in terms of feel for the ball. And it's of course the high definition grip that you have here in the form of these little rectangular shaped kind of raised SL rubber elements. It's the same material we've been seeing on the rubber elements of Predators for a very long time now. However, on the laceless model in particular, compared to the laced variation, hence the 5 out of 5 rectangles, you can see it kind of goes all the way up the foot in an area where we typically never see rubber elements, which might seem like a very minor thing, but honestly, it makes such a big difference in terms of the sensation of control that you get from having so much extra grip very high up across the middle of your foot. And again, compared to the Edge Plus that it replaces, it might not seem like that much extra surface area with this additional grip, but like I said, it does make the world of difference in terms of the feel on the ball and really making the upper feel like it's flowing across the top of your foot. This is like having a rubber element that's kind of integrated into your socks rather than a rubber element that's been kind of glued to the surface of the football boot, which historically is how the Adidas Predator has always felt, where in the case of the Accuracy Plus in particular, because I don't feel you get that same sensation with the 0.1, this just really feels like a part of your body, which again is a sensation that I can only describe as being very futuresque. As for what that extra grip actually does for you in terms of benefiting performance, well, obviously your ability to perform is going to be on you. And when you're talking about shooting ability as well as control of the ball, these are skills that are not necessarily going to be made better or worse depending on the boots that you choose to wear. With that said, this SL rubber scattered across the entire medial side of the football boot, including the toe box and forefoot area, and I think most importantly in the area of the foot where you are going to be striking the ball, generating spin is seemingly effortless. It's not to say that you will necessarily spin the ball more, but you can definitely spin the ball more with less effort. This is one of those football boots that you slide them on your feet and look down, and you are immediately being invited to curl the ball. It just feels fantastic. And as the name would suggest, the boots do feel exceptionally accurate. Will they actually make you shoot more accurately? Not necessarily, but the sensation is there. And I think that's kind of the intended design. And it's very rare that a football boot actually delivers on its intended design in terms of how it feels. What I do wish, however, is there has been some padding added to the underside of the Hybrid Touch, particularly in the forefoot and toe box area. And then when you get to about here up, the padding actually ends. So this little section with the extra rubber elements feels significantly thinner than what you're gonna find across this area of the foot. So it's a little bit inconsistent in that regard, but in terms of catching it right up here and having that super pingy sensation with the extra grip, there really isn't any other football boot like it, including the Accuracy 0.1. Where on the lateral side, kind of a change up to what we've seen in recent years with the Predator series, you're still gonna have some additional grip. However, it's not by way of rubber elements. You can see those little rectangles are kind of like 3D texture that's on the surface, but it's very, very minor. It's grippy in the sense that it provides a little bit of roughness to the surface, but isn't necessarily sticky like the rubber elements that you have here highlighted in pink. To me, it gives the boots a little bit more balance. It takes less time to get used to them because you don't necessarily need a ton of extra grip right here where you're going to be pushing the ball, particularly for dribbling. So in general, I felt like this has a much more natural sensation than the last couple generations of Predator. And again, kind of relates it back to the good old days of the Predator series where you had a rubber element that existed simply for striking the ball rather than kind of transforming the Predator series into this control boot, which it still is to a degree. Ultimately, that's just a marketing term, but this has the most classic Predator feel that we've seen since the Predator came back in 2018. As for the new Laceless system of the Accuracy Plus, obviously it changes quite a bit coming from the edge in that it does utilize a completely different material, mainly a synthetic that transitions and kind of connects itself to an elasticated prime knit. So in that regard, it's not really that different from all the other laceless systems that we've seen from the Adidas brand since the Pure Control in 2016. Nonetheless, what I love about this design is it's one of very few that actually allows the laceless construction to benefit the feel or performance of the product by giving you these extra rubber elements here, which granted, they did also include on the Predator Freak, but those little rubber spikes they put in the middle of the foot ultimately didn't make for that much of a difference in feel. This feels very flowing because it's the same material as the rest of the upper. Nonetheless, you can see there's kind of a split on the lateral and on the medial side, allowing for the synthetic to kind of flow up the middle of the foot. And I think they did a really good job of making this feel as structured as it can be while still having sufficient stretch to get the boots on and off. Ultimately, do they feel super tight and secure on your feet? No, I would say that this definitely has a little bit more of a relaxed feel in terms of the tension that you're going to get across the top of the foot. So if you're somebody that really likes a super tight feel to your football boots, these are simply not going to be for you. But if you don't tend to tie your shoes very tight, I definitely see why a lot of people would find these extremely comfortable. And for me, out of the box, it's one of the more comfortable laceless boots that they've designed. This little split here made from prime knit does a nice job of stretching while still maintaining good tension. And there is some attention to detail here in that it's not just straight elasticated prime knit. Basically from here forward, there is an internal liner underneath that restricting it from overstretching, which does do a really big role in not making this upper feel too sloppy, because ultimately with a lot of these fully elasticated laceless systems, as soon as you make a hard cut, pressure is applied to the upper, and basically the first thing that's going to stretch is the laceless system, and you lose out on all lockdown. Again, I don't think lockdown and tightness is necessarily a strong suit of this particular football boot, but I didn't find that my foot was slipping around too much. I will say that this is definitely one of those football boots, like many other laceless products, that are definitely going to benefit from you wearing grip socks, and that they're just going to feel that much more secure and connected on your feet, potentially reduce some heel slippage as well. But as far as Predator laceless systems go, this I think is one of the better ones. Moving to the rear, you're going to find that the Accuracy Plus does maintain a mid-cut construction with elasticated prime knit kind of bordering the edges, and then a little bit more of a structured tail, which is necessary in terms of helping you to kind of grab onto the football boots for putting them on and taking them off. In general, I don't really have any issue with what they've done here, and I think it's one of the better looking mid-cut designs that they've done on the Laceless Predator. Internally, you're going to find an internal plastic heel counter, which feels nice and solid. No major issues for me there. And then as far as the heel liner is concerned, it pretty much remains the same as the last several generations of Predator. It's this really soft microfiber lining material, plenty of padding back there, and in general, just very comfortable through the heel, where the lockdown is more so going to come from the tension provided by the laceless system and the shaping of the football boot, which is obviously something, because of the lack of adjustability, that's very much going to change and depend on the specific shape of your feet and how well these football boots fit you specifically. And then as far as the insole is concerned, I'll give you guys a quick look at that. Fully removable, really soft kind of microfiber lining on the surface, and it's made from a single layer of this black foam, which admittedly is a little bit cheaper than I think what they have been using in the last 10 to 15 years or so, but ultimately pretty much the same in terms of feel, and one that does get the job done. Which brings us to the base of the Accuracy Plus, where you'll probably recognize the facet frame split sole construction from the edge it replaces, which I thought was actually the best design element of the previous generation Pred. I really never had an issue with what they've done here, and pairing it up with this new upper design, I actually quite like the way that it feels. It's solid without being overly bulky. The flexibility in the forefoot is really nice. It's not really trying to do anything crazy in regards to feel there. And as far as the stud pattern is concerned, this is their FG layout. It's the same layout we're used to seeing from the Adidas brand, and kind of like this triangular bladed shape all the way throughout, which is a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen on the Predator, again, since it came back in 2018. The only gimmicky element you're going to find here is, of course, that tungsten weighting on the toe, where they're really not making it a part of the marketing story at all this year with the Accuracy, like they did with the Edge, where they claimed it would increase the power of your shot by an unknown percentage for unknown reasons. If you guys saw the video where I actually removed it off the shoe and weighed it myself, it literally weighs only a couple grams, basically meaning that it does absolutely nothing at all, which isn't surprising because you can't feel it when you wear the boots. They've still included it here because it is a part of the tooling, but all in all, it affects nothing in terms of performance. And as a base, like I said, the facet frame split sole I actually quite like. Which brings us to the weight, which was a major point of criticism for the Predator Edge Plus, in that it was significantly heavier than past laceless Predator models that ultimately used pretty much the exact same materials. Not that the Predator is ever trying to be light, but they weighed a little bit more than people were hoping, both in the same size 9.5 US. We'll start off with the outgoing Predator Edge Plus. They weigh in at 9.3 ounces, the equivalent of 263 grams. Remember those numbers, and we'll throw on the Accuracy Plus, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.85 ounces, the equivalent of 251 grams. So there definitely has been a little bit of weight taken out of the new Accuracy Plus, now falling into that 8-ounce weight range, which is still on the upper end of what you're going to find from most high-end football boots. But again, this is a Predator model. It's not necessarily trying to be a pair of speed boots, and as it is, especially if you're looking for something that has that solid feel to it without being overly bulky or heavy, I think you're going to be really happy with the weight of the Accuracy Plus. So here they are on feet, where not only do they feel quite a bit different from the Edge Plus they replace, I'd go as far as to say that these feel very different from any other laceless football boot Adidas has put out, in the sense that they have almost no stiffness to them at all. And that's kind of been one of the aspects of laceless football boots that I've never truly been a big fan of. There's usually some kind of a pinch point, some kind of a tightness that needs to be there in order for the boots to feel secure on your feet. And like I said earlier in the video, I don't think the lockdown is phenomenal with these. That's not going to be the case with most laceless designs, but I think the materials used, the hybrid touch along with the prime knit material, really does a nice job of feeling very natural on your feet. Like I said, these feel more like a second skin than they do an upper that's kind of just hanging on to your feet, if you will. From a width perspective as well, I've said for a long time that laceless football boots aren't really a great option for wide feet. And while I still believe that to a certain extent, this is easily the widest fitting laceless football boot that Adidas has ever put out. You still might struggle to put them on and certainly take them off if your feet are that exceptionally wide. But if you've had wider feet and have always been curious about laceless football boots, but have always struggled to get the right fit, this might be one to try out. From a feel perspective though, I really like it. The hybrid touch is flexible, it's soft, everything feels very natural on your feet. But like I said, grip socks definitely go a long way in terms of heel lockdown in particular. It doesn't have that overly tight squeezing sensation on your feet. So again, if that's something that you're after, maybe the Accuracy 0.1 with a lacing system and that adjustability is going to be better off for you. Like I said, from a width perspective, they're going to be suitable for most foot types, but like any laceless football boot, you kind of have to try them on. The shape of your feet specifically, not just the width, is going to be very dependent on how the quality of fit is going to be. But like I said, definitely the widest fitting laceless boots Adidas has ever put out. And from a sizing perspective, I'm wearing these in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit and the length is perfect. Again, something to note with laceless football boots, you do not want to buy them with any extra room for the sake of growing or comfort or anything like that. You want them to fit as snug as possible. Extra room is going to make them that much more sloppy, which is the exact opposite of what you want. In other words, true to size is what I would strongly recommend. So in conclusion, the Predator Accuracy Plus is easily my favorite laceless Predator to date, and like I said in the intro of this video, truly a taste of what the future of football boots might feel like. It has grip in all the right places. The functionality and feel of the football boot has actually been modified to benefit the experience because of the laceless construction, which is something that really bothers me about so many laceless boots. They're just laceless for the sake of being laceless. They've actually done something here with the design of the Accuracy Plus. They're comfortable enough if you're somebody that doesn't like an overly tight feel to your boots. And like I said, the sole plate and stud pattern carrying over from the edge actually works really well with this new design. As for how they compare to the laced Accuracy 0.1, other than the price difference, which might be a factor for you in that the laced version is less expensive, I think it really is going to come down to your preferences in terms of fit and feel on your feet. Both provide tons of extra grip. You definitely get a little bit more with the Accuracy Plus, but if you're somebody that likes that slightly more connected feel to your football boots, you want them to feel secure and locked in and responsive on your feet, definitely go for the 0.1. It has a lot more of that, where like I said, the Laceless Plus model is definitely geared towards somebody who's going to prefer a little bit more of that relaxed fit and feel. As for my own preferences, for those that care, if it came down to just shooting some free kicks, I don't think there's any other football boot that I'd rather have on my feet. But when it comes down to actually playing in a match, personally, I would prefer the Accuracy 0.1 and the adjustability and extra lockdown that comes with the additional lacing system. All in all though, amazing effort from Adidas, huge improvement over the Edge Plus, and again, one of the better laceless football boots they've ever made.